What defines a hunter? Is it the crimson runes carved by blades into monster spines, or the ashen eyes reborn from Earth's core flames? No, neither. For those in despair, a hunter is the ray of sunlight that can shatter the cage imprisoning us, bringing us hope once more. My name is Yu Hijai, a human test subject of the evil organization ARC. At that moment, I came to understand the magnitude of power, this overwhelming, intoxicating force. Until this woman appeared, I truly believed that. But after her arrival, I gained another perspective. Hunters are not the strongest. Another force exists in this world, one powerful enough to control even mighty hunters. This encounter determined my life's goal going forward. 19 years later, inside the Ability Management Bureau, using my Einstein-level intellect, I passed the national examination and officially became an inspector representative at the Bureau, successfully achieving my objective. Much of this was thanks to the encouragement of my adoptive father, Hong Seok-kyung, and the support of my adoptive sister, Lu Jiun. Though at times, Jun's temper could be quite fierce, just when I thought everything was moving in a positive direction. Disaster strikes. My mana watch shows all dungeons beginning to riot, monsters pouring out almost simultaneously for unknown reasons, plunging the world into chaos. My adoptive father, Hong Seok-kyung, also known as the strongest hunter, has been missing since participating in suppressing the chaos. My adoptive sister was critically injured by a boss, barely clinging to life. Before dying, childhood scenes kept flashing through her mind. She then placed her sword in my hands, ordering me to survive, and passed away peacefully. I cannot believe what I am witnessing. Endless grief transforms into rage, forcing me to grip the blade. Though she once said monster corpses are a hunter's glory, looking at this massive creature now fills me with growing resentment. This resentment turns to fury, driving me to strike down with my sword. But the monster's corpse suddenly vanishes into thin air. Instead, a clock-like item drops. The clock urges me to restart time immediately, leaving me completely confused. As I stand bewildered, a sinister presence suddenly emerges behind me. This aura is 100 times stronger than the centipede just now, sending chills down my spine. Looking at this colossal beast, my eyes fill with despair. Combined with the clock's constant urging, I nearly break down. Shut up, whatever it takes, just let me survive. The moment I finish speaking, everything turns pitch black. Identity confirmed. Moving to random time period. When I open my eyes again, I am somewhere else. Real people surround me. I freeze in shock. Was the world not destroyed? Where did these people come from? I turn to look at the calendar nearby. It clearly reads April 2024, not 2044. Could it be that clock? Does this mean I traveled back in time? Though doubtful, the familiar scene before me leaves no choice but to believe. Is this not the building from the dungeon riot 20 years ago? I remember only 2 students and 3 civilians survived back then. After gathering my thoughts, I question the students behind me for information and reveal my hunter identity, though I only became one 8 years later. Still, this moves everyone, and they begin whispering amongst themselves. While they converse, I keep observing Lee Sung-yeon nearby. From what I know, Lee Sung-yeon is the youngest son of Daeyeon Group. In the previous timeline, his death in this dungeon filled his father with such regret that he not only established the Ability Management Bureau, but also promoted Uncle Hong to director. This shows how important Lee Sung-yeon is. So I plan to seize an opportunity, a chance to play hero and leave a good impression. I then explain my plan to the students. We head straight to City Hall, where rescue teams will certainly be. Everyone agrees. Since no one objects, we begin drawing runes, though I am not the one drawing them, as I am no mage. After completing them, we prepare to depart. Before leaving, under the pretense of inspection, I weaken Lee Sung-yeon's rune to ensure my plan succeeds. After completing this, I leap down to the ground floor, drawing away the herd of minotaurs gathered at the entrance. This allows the students to escape. Next, they activate their runes, concealing their presence and quietly passing through the minotaur herd. The students understand perfectly, advancing slowly one after another, until Lee Sung-yeon passes through. The minotaurs detect his presence. Fortunately, I appear just in time and kick one away. Then, with exaggerated theatrics, I urge them to run. My hero saves the day plan succeeds perfectly. Of course, I have no intention of fighting a herd of minotaurs. After they leave, I leap onto a tall building. The plan worked perfectly, though it was rather exhausting. I begin thinking about what comes next. If this is time travel, I hope it does not erase my past self like in movies. That would be terrifying. Just then, a sharp rebuke echoes from the distance, startling me. I steal a glance. I spot the magic of Grand Mage Kim Chaemin. She supposedly died in a future dungeon raid, and her magic was lost. Beyond that, I see a familiar figure, Uncle Hong Seok-kyung, my adoptive father. Watching them fight with such intensity, I think it is time to head to City Hall as planned and wait for rescue. Unexpectedly, a defeated minotaur falls inconveniently in my direction. I have no choice but to strike it down, simultaneously exposing my abilities. Uncle Hong and Kim Chaemin witness this powerful strike and freeze in place. After a long moment, I quietly emerge from behind the minotaur and greet them, claiming I am merely a passerby. From their expressions, I know they do not believe me, so I am detained, disarmed, and interrogated. Though my weapon is confiscated, the nearby guards still consider me dangerous, especially since I have no identification. Uncle Hong says it is fine. We simply stare at each other. Uncle Hong speaks first, asking my name. I honestly answer that I am Yu Hijai. He then produces a paper with a pattern inscribed on it. I glance at it and freeze. Is this not ARC's symbol? The next second, I realize something is wrong. Uncle Hong seems to be testing me. Does he think I belong to ARC? Seeing my expression, Uncle Hong instantly understands everything, though he seems to misinterpret it. He appears to mistake me for an undercover agent within ARC, mentioning something about Mr. Kim. I am completely lost. lost. At least it is not a bad misunderstanding, so I go with it, though I feel somewhat guilty toward the real undercover agent. I immediately claim to be that undercover agent. Uncle Hong smiles knowingly and extends his hand, welcoming my return. But I know his personality well. Though seemingly carefree, he is meticulous at heart. As for why I say this, there is certainly a reason. He has kept me confined for a week and placed a mana suppression anklet on me. This hardly looks like trust. Uncle Hong merely smiles at this, but the next second, his expression turns serious. He produces a document, wanting me to teach his students, the very group from the dungeon riot. I am somewhat confused and ask why. Uncle Hong replies calmly, "First, my students have been begging me to find you. They seem quite fond of you. Second, it is because of that thing called runes. I initially want to refuse, but reconsider. If runes become public knowledge, perhaps they can save more people. So I agree, but I quickly regret it. Is this school not far too crude? Just 3 metal sheds surrounded by suburban wasteland." I am immediately dismayed. Uncle Hong seems unbothered. He says everything will come in time. He then leads me into the classroom and has me introduce myself. Jungwoo becomes very excited after hearing this, as he particularly wants to learn runes since using them last time. The other students are equally enthusiastic. This touches me. What a studious bunch. However, Park Sohyun's condition seems somewhat off. How did she transform into the Sohyun I knew 10 years later in just 10 days? How to describe it? She looks half dead. I do not pay it much mind. After entering the lodge, I immediately use a technique to unlock my anklet, then begin searching for information through my mana watch. First, the reason for Sohyun's personality change. It seems related to magic and her failure to protect her companions in the previous timeline. But in this timeline, no one died. Why would she still change? This puzzles me completely. I can only take things one step at a time. The next day, I stroll on the grass, replaying recent events in my mind, completely unaware of Lee Sungyeon nearby. Only when he calls out loudly do I snap back to reality. Seeing me return to my senses, Lee Sungyeon says, "Teacher, where is your sword? My aunt wants to see it." This reminds me that Lee Sungyeon has a very powerful aunt named Lee Mi-hyun. Perhaps I can establish a connection. Just as I think this, Uncle Hong's untimely voice interrupts me. He wants me to help clean the warehouse. I am helpless, but still agree. I take the opportunity to mention Sohyun's situation. Uncle Hong dismisses it, considering it normal. I am speechless. It seems I must handle this myself. That afternoon, I begin formal classes. However, a crowd gathers behind. Though I do not understand why they want to learn about runes they cannot use, I pay it little mind. I then inspect Jungwoo's rune. It is essentially illegible scribbling. I am about to check Sohyun's rune, but her aura is far too intense, so I turn to explain theory instead. Runes require persistence, repair, waterproofing, amplification, and resonance. Just memorize these. The moment I finish, Sohyun raises her hand. "Teacher, why did you not tell us this before? It is fine. Even if I had told you earlier, it would not have helped much." Hearing this, I instantly understand. She became like this because I weakened Lee Sungyeon's rune back then. I do not answer but declare class over. We will resume after eating. At the dining table, I feel deep regret for creating such trouble. Well, I must clean up my own mess. During the meal, Uncle Hong mentions, "Will you teach Sohyun and Jungwoo other magic?" I explain that I cannot use magic, but I can teach them all the runes I know. This greatly surprises Uncle Hong, who quickly asks about the benefits. I reply calmly, "Because its creator hoped it could save more people, I will make runes public knowledge. However, I have one condition. There is a place with many children. I hope you can investigate it." The next day, Uncle Hong rigorously drills his students. Of course, I am not idle. I carefully supervise Sohyun and Jungwoo. Jungwoo is fine. Sohyun is a significant problem. I want to be strict but cannot be too harsh. If her emotions collapse, that would be bad. So I use praise. "In my view, you have great talent. Becoming a grand mage is well within reach." After speaking, the air falls deathly silent. Then comes Sohyun's sobbing and apologies. I am baffled. What is happening now? Amid my surprise, Uncle Hong announces dismissal, and Sohyun packs up and leaves. This leaves me helpless. Women's hearts are truly unfathomable. On the way back, Uncle Hong informs me they will soon take action on the place I mentioned. I am relieved. I hope my childhood self is safe. The next day, the weather is clear and my mood is good, or so I wish. Sohyun remains gloomy as always, and Jungwoo constantly reads the room carefully. Lee Sungyeon, however, stays cheerful and innocent, though somewhat reserved, not like those two. During casual conversation, a roar echoes from the distance. A pair of slender legs emerges. This is S-rank hunter Kim Chaemin, also the magic instructor Uncle Hong recruited. Upon entering, she points at me and shouts. I hastily introduce myself. "Hello, I am Yu Hee-jae, responsible for teaching these 2 mage students." Kim Chaemin pauses, then asks, "Should you not be a swordsman?" I immediately explain I only teach runes. Kim Chaemin grows more puzzled. "Are runes not that rarely used thing?" I understand her meaning. "Are you saying runes are worthless?" Kim Chaemin quickly waves her hands. For this situation, I have prepared a live demonstration. Jungwoo then injects a small amount of mana into the rune. Flames immediately shoot skyward. This is not all. Sohyun immediately injects mana into another rune. Heavy rain appears from nowhere, instantly extinguishing the fire. Kim Chaemin can no longer sit still. Great power aside, there is no mana leakage during activation. That is naturally because of the rune itself. Kim Chaemin examines it and discovers multiple overlapping runes. This is truly amazing. She immediately grasps my hand, wanting to become my student. I am somewhat helpless and can only accept. hideout. Several days later, we arrive with a group of hunters at the location I mentioned, preparing to destroy Ark's hideout, but the place is already abandoned. This is too strange. How could this happen? Finding no leads, we exit together. We inform Lee Mi-hyun, president of Daeyeon Guild. Though we catch no one, we still find some clues. 2 days later, I return to the school. Everything proceeds as usual. I simply cannot understand why Sunjin sits in place without participating in combat. Sunjin explains this as her tactic. She knows that even she and Lee Sung-yeon together might not defeat Oh Hyun-wook, so she plans to use some tricks. After hearing this, I immediately realize she means a sneak attack. Just as I finish speaking, Oh Hyun-wook reveals an opening that Sunjin seizes. Oh Hyun-wook falls as a result. Though the method is somewhat underhanded, the outcome is indeed a victory. At this moment, a Mercedes G-Class suddenly appears. A tall, beautiful woman steps out. It is Lee Mi-hyun. Lee Mi-hyun immediately praises Sunjin, saying her skills have improved. This makes Sunjin blush. She then teases her nephew. If only you had half her effort. This displeases Lee Sung-yeon, and they begin arguing. Fortunately, Uncle Hong emerges in time and stops the quarrel. The four of us then gather in one room to discuss the previous matter, the Myeongdong dungeon riot. According to clues from our previous search, we determine the next dungeon has a 90% chance of appearing in Songpa district, though its rank remains unknown. Uncle Hong responds, "Rank unknown? It seems we must investigate personally." Classes proceed normally the next day. However, there is one additional observer, Lee Mi-hyun. As for why she is here, it is mainly because she does not quite trust someone of unclear identity like me. I pay little attention and simply teach rune drawing as usual. After completing the demonstration, I have everyone try. They immediately begin drawing. Jung-woo finishes first, but I severely reprimand him for omitting the final auxiliary rune. So-hyun finishes second and draws it successfully, so I have her activate it. She complies. Her figure then slowly vanishes, or rather, vision is disrupted. Lee Mi-hyun watches in stunned silence. Seeing the good effect, I take the rune from Seo-hyun. Her figure immediately reappears. This rune is called Shadow Rune. It conceals one's presence. After explaining, Lee Mi-hyun cannot help but exclaim, "This is her first time seeing runes with such effects." That afternoon, outside noise successfully interrupts Uncle Hong's and my nap. We emerge to investigate and freeze. Lee Mi-hyun has renovated the school, nearly transforming it into a beach party. This leaves Uncle Hong speechless, but he can do nothing and lets her have her way. The renovation continues until sunset. Seeing it nearly complete, Lee Mi-hyun walks toward me. She comes to thank me for saving her nephew and expresses that she will assist me with any difficulties. I am quite pleased. After all, I've gotten this formidable woman from the previous timeline to approach me personally. The next day, I encounter a new problem. Lee Sung-yeon and the others want me to teach them swordsmanship. This startles me, and I quickly ask, "Where is the principal?" Lee Sung-yeon explains, "The principal sent us to you." Hearing this, I can no longer contain myself. He really treats me like a laborer. I immediately rise to find Uncle Hong. He indicates he must now raid a dungeon and has no time to teach. After speaking, Uncle Hong simply stands and leaves. I am left speechless. This turns into helpless acceptance of the disadvantage. After all, he is my adoptive father. The next morning, I begin formal instruction. As for the teaching method, naturally I sharpen their combat skills through actual combat. Meanwhile, on the other side, Uncle Hong and his team successfully enter the dungeon. The danger level does not exceed C rank, and the monsters are only herbivorous centipedes. Yet Uncle Hong senses something wrong. There is a strange odor, like rotting flesh. They then see many centipede monsters gnawing on decaying meat. On my side, Lu Jun's figure suddenly appears in my dream. This jolts me awake. I feel an ominous premonition approaching. However, I pay it no mind and teach class on time as usual. Then I beat them all down. This makes everyone miss the principal. Though he also practices hands-on training, at least he is not this harsh. Fortunately, there is Liu Jihee, the healing angel among the students. Otherwise, they would not survive until the principal returns. During the break, a taxi arrives from the distance. A female high school student steps out. Liu Jihee is shocked to see her. This person is her younger sister, Lu Jiun. Lu Jiun immediately greets Kim Chaemin and me. I grimace. Damn, that dream was truly inauspicious. Is this even reasonable? But I do not show much outwardly. I then ask Lu Jiun why she came. Lu Jiun indicates she wants me to accompany her to the guild office, as she recently awakened. This leaves Liu Jihee completely bewildered. I quietly suggest Kim Chaemin accompany her for registration. Kim Chaemin pauses. She then states that as a triple S rank, becoming anyone's guarantor would cause a commotion, so Teacher Yu should go instead. After hearing this, I also refuse. The reason is I have no phone. Kim Chaemin is somewhat stunned. She then instantly appears beside Lu Jiun, stating that Jiun specifically requested Teacher Yu. This remark seems to remind Jiun of something. She immediately declares loudly that she wants me to accept her as a disciple. Though Lu Jiun is a genius, I still decisively refuse. This deeply disappoints Lu Jiun. She then begins muttering, "The internet says the first month after awakening is most critical." I ask the two beside me with a confused expression. Both claim they have never heard such a thing. Lu Jiun then produces a flyer. I glance at it once. I immediately tell her it is fake and to wait until the principal returns. Lu Jiun can only give up. That evening, in a barbecue restaurant, I relate the entire sequence of events to Uncle Hong, who just returned from the dungeon. Uncle Hong merely smiles faintly. He then produces a photograph and asks if I recognize the person. I state I have never seen this individual. Hearing this, Uncle Hong's expression changes. "This is Mr. Kim, who rescued you from Ark. You claim not to know him?" I remain completely calm. "Uncle Hong, enough. Is Mr. Kim not a woman?" As for why I say this, naturally I already investigated. Uncle Hong relaxes after hearing this answer. He then reveals his true purpose. He wants me to help investigate what this rune does. I indicate indicate I have not seen it before and must return to school to experiment. Now it is time to discuss my matter. I then hand Lu Jun's flyer to Uncle Hong. Uncle Hong instantly feels a headache upon seeing it. This is complete nonsense. I respond calmly. Of course it is nonsense. That place is likely an ARC branch. They recruit promising prospects through such propaganda, then conduct human experiments. This statement immediately stuns Uncle Hong. Seeing his agitation, I tell him to calm down. After all, we have not completely located their branch yet. However, we can attempt to find it through this rune. The next day, we purchase 2 fresh cuts of meat, preparing to test by applying the rune. Jungwoo is curious and he approaches and asks what we are doing. I explain it is merely an experiment. Little do I know that in this brief moment the fresh meat has already rotted. I thus learn the rune's effect. Truly ARC's twisted taste. I inform Uncle Hong of this. Though he feels a headache, he tells me not to involve myself further. There is a more important task for me, taking students to practice in a dungeon. I am irritated but helpless. However, the students are exceptionally excited and nervous. I then begin explaining dungeon rules. First, my task is only to grade. I will only intervene when there is real danger. Second concerns the dungeon's rank, environment, core location, and what monsters exist. Those are the basic instructions. Go eat first. Everyone then departs. However, So-hyun remains in place. Tears slowly stream down. Teacher, I do not want to attend school anymore. After hearing this, I stand frozen. So-hyun continues, my talent is too poor. I am unworthy of becoming a mage. Before causing greater harm to other classmates, I must end this early. I sit down and speak slowly. What are you saying? Have you not noticed your magic casting speed is faster than ordinary people? So-hyun replies, that is not the reason. It is because of my exclusive magic. I clearly understand every formula, yet I cannot cast it. Hearing this, I furrow my brow and urgently ask how So-hyun learned exclusive magic. So-hyun answers honestly, before my grandfather passed away. What was his affinity? So-hyun replies, light, mainly guidance magic. Receiving this answer, I smile knowingly. So-hyun, you have great talent. I will definitely help you become a grand mage. Hearing this, So-hyun cannot help but feel a chill down her spine. That afternoon, I conduct tests on both of them. Rather than testing, it is analysis, using the feather before them to determine their affinity. Kim Chaemin immediately wants to try upon hearing this. After all, this is her first time using such a method. After considering, I agree. Having someone demonstrate first is naturally beneficial. I immediately begin the preliminary steps. First, dissolve dwarf gold dust into clean water, then soak the white swan feather thoroughly. The final step is injecting mana into the feather. In just an instant, countless branches explode from the feather's base. All 3 freeze in place, especially Kim Chaemin. Runes already aroused her curiosity, and now comes affinity analysis. This curiosity compels her to ask, who exactly invented these things? I want to change the subject, but Kim Chaemin's gaze is too intense. I can only answer, that person is already dead. Kim Chaemin then restrains herself. Now it is time to test the other 2. So-hyun tests first. As mana is injected, the feather's color gradually turns black. Seeing the blackened feather, I speak calmly. So-hyun, your affinity is shadow, the domain opposite to light. That is why you cannot use your grandfather's domain. After speaking, I hand the feather to Jungwoo. Jungwoo receives it and injects mana. The feather immediately bursts into flames. Seeing this, I urgently tell Jungwoo to release it, but Jungwoo feels no heat, only warmth. This makes So-hyun's heart sink. Indeed, Jungwoo's awakened affinity is light. After the analysis, So-hyun speaks with me privately. Teacher, I have considered this. I cannot cast my grandfather's magic, but I do not want his magic to be lost. I have decided to approach this matter differently. So what do you want to do? So-hyun replies calmly, I want to become Jungwoo's master. I pause, admiring So-hyun's generous spirit. Seeing her determination, I say no more, indicate I will relay this to Jungwoo. What I completely did not expect is Jungwoo's refusal. Kim Chaemin is even more furious, and hastily asks why. Is it not awkward to have a friend as a master? These few words leave us uncertain how to respond. The air falls deathly silent. I am angry but cannot say much. I can only offer brief comfort before letting him rest. Kim Chaemin is puzzled but says nothing. She trusts I will have a solution. I then go out to inform So-hyun of this. After hearing this, So-hyun looks confused. She even doubts I heard wrong. I explain calmly, because he feels he has no qualifications to learn from you. He also said becoming your disciple would leave him unable to face you. So-hyun feels utterly speechless. Such an absurd reason. She rises, preparing to find Jungwoo. Sincerity begets sincerity. Half an hour later, both return to us in tears. Witnessing the scene, I cannot help but remark, girls truly have extraordinary emotional capacity. This state persists for 2 days. By the 3rd day, they seem to have changed completely, both appearing determined and motivated. This forms a sharp contrast with the combat team behind them. At this moment, the roar of a car echoes from the distance. Kim Chaemin returns. She brings 2 thick master-disciple contracts. These are contracts she and her father signed. She wants to give So-hyun and Jungwoo a reference. Seeing the thick contracts, both feel troubled. Kim Chaemin explains, betrayals happened in the past, which is why contracts were established. Therefore, a contract must be signed. Both are perplexed. Is this not too troublesome? We will certainly sign, but can we simplify it? With that, So-hyun picks up a pen. Under our observation, she swiftly writes 3 rules. First, Park So-hyun will transmit all magic formulas to Jungwoo. Second, Park So-hyun grants Jungwoo ownership of the magic. Third, only with mutual consent from both Park So-hyun and Jungwoo can a new successor be accepted. The pen drops, the handprint is pressed, and it is done. This speed is so fast that Kim Chaemin nearly fails to react. Jungwoo receives it and without hesitation also presses his handprint. Kim Chaemin feels dizzy watching this. Wait, students, is this this contract not too simple? Should we not add more detailed clauses? Sohyun responds indifferently. It is fine. Having a grand mage as witness is sufficient. She then hands the contract to Kim Chaemin. After Kim Chaemin signs, Sohyun passes it to me. I am unconcerned. It is merely a signature after all. Several days later, after resolving Sohyun's magic matter, I welcome some peace in life. This tranquility begins to worry me. It feels like the calm before the storm. While contemplating, cheers erupt outside. I curiously open the door to look. I then see Jungwoo successfully casting Sohyun's grandfather's magic. This leaves me stunned. Success in just a few days? Is Jungwoo a genius? Uncle Hong also emerges upon hearing the commotion and silently gives a thumbs up. Since Jungwoo can now cast the magic, I inquire about Sohyun's progress. Sohyun begins to stammer, indicating that despite many attempts, she has failed repeatedly. Seeing the situation, I generally understand. Sohyun has encountered a bottleneck. I then crouch down and dig a hole, instructing Sohyun to release water magic into it, then heat it to boiling with fire magic. Sohyun obediently complies, and a miraculous scene occurs. Water and fire coexist, so the principle is the same. Though their attributes are opposite, they can coexist. This means their formulas must share similarities. Sohyun grasps this with sudden clarity. She then lowers her head and begins muttering, but I interrupt her promptly. This is not intentional. Whenever I see her head lowered, I feel an inexplicable fear. With Sohyun's matter concluded, next comes Liu Jiun. I therefore ask Liu Jihye how Liu Jiun has been recently. Upon hearing Jiun's name, Jihye immediately looks distressed and begins complaining. Jiun is becoming increasingly bizarre. Previously putting her feet in ice buckets was one thing, but recently she claims she must constantly eat raw lettuce to keep her stomach clean. After hearing this, I am quite sympathetic. I deeply relate. However, I cannot abandon this future S rank. I can only sigh helplessly. So to relax, I head to the neighborhood that afternoon for a casual stroll. As luck would have it, I run into that troublemaker Liu Jiun, and she is still holding that fake flyer. I stand there quietly, watching Liu Jiun across the street. Suddenly, a suspicious-looking woman approaches Liu Jiun with obvious ill intent. Watching the scene unfold, I start to panic. Could this woman be a human trafficker? As soon as the light turns green, I dash across the street. I loudly interrupt their conversation. When the woman hears I'm a teacher, her eyes practically light up with excitement. She quickly pulls out a business card and hands it to me. Out of politeness, I accept it, but the name on it screams cult organization. Seeing me take the card, the woman launches into an enthusiastic attempt to indoctrinate me. To prevent Liu Jiun from being led astray, I decisively bring up her older sister, Liu Jihye. This instantly deflates Liu Jiun. She reluctantly heads home. Now that my concern has left, it is time to deal with this woman. The woman calmly pulls out a tablet and begins promoting their association. I think for a moment and decide to test her. Actually, I was not originally a teacher. Through a series of coincidences, I became a high school teacher. Have you heard of the Hunter Training Experimental High School? The moment she hears these words, the woman's expression changes drastically. She quickly recovers, but I already catch it. She then asks if I have time for a cup of coffee. I have no reason to refuse, so I agree. We head to a coffee shop, where we have what seems like a pleasant conversation. To the woman, I am a delicious target. Little does she know that I'm putting on an act, because I already know this association is definitely an ARC branch. After our chat, I quickly return to the school and tell Hong Suk-young everything that just happened. I suspect this association has serious issues. It is fortunate I spotted them this morning, or Liu Jiun would have been lured away. Hong Suk-young looks puzzled for a moment. I continue. The woman also invited me to attend one of their lectures when I have time. I want to investigate them more deeply. Hong Suk-young casually tells me to do as I please, which catches me off guard. Does he trust me that much? However, before that, I need to take the students through the dungeon evaluation. There is so much to do, and this damn man only knows how to run away from responsibilities, so everything falls on me. Before heading to the dungeon, Kim Chaemin helps me remove the mana suppression anklet. She asks me to make sure I protect the students. I assure her there will be no problem. With that, we prepare to set off. Sometime later, we arrive at the dungeon entrance. Jiam Jojung from the Administrative Safety Department has been waiting for quite some time. Looking at the woman before me, I feel a sense of familiarity, especially her face. I feel like I have seen it somewhere before. It is not until Hong Suk-young arrives that I realize where I have seen her, because that angry scolding voice and that expression are all too familiar. Is this not the inspector from when Hong Suk-young and I raided the research facility years ago? She was also my first role model. However, now is not the time for reminiscing. The priority is the students' evaluation. With that, I lead the 9 students into the dungeon, but I am only here to grade them, so I quickly separate from the group and hide in the shadows. I leave behind a group of bewildered students. Fortunately, Oh Hyun-wook, who has dungeon experience, steps up to take command. This helps everyone relax slightly. The group then advances slowly in a turtle formation. Meanwhile, I observe them secretly from the side. Earlier, I had thought of a method to get a perfect score: burn it all down. The vegetation here is dense, but there is no water source, so a fire attack would be the most effective method. However, I do not tell them this method, because this is their evaluation. Although their formation appears flawless, I immediately spot the weakness: area of effect attacks. So, to let them experience the true difficulty of a dungeon, I lure all the pixies in the dungeon dungeon toward them. As expected, Oh Hyun-wook panics. He does not know what method to use. He even thinks of the method that man always used, using a sacrificial pawn. But the next second, he snaps back to normal. He, of all people, knows best what it feels like to be used as bait. Yet he just had such a horrifying thought himself. The chaos causes Oh Hyun-wook to lose focus instantly. Fortunately, I appear just in time, which helps them calm down. However, they are still at a loss, so I begin issuing commands. Jungwoo, deploy your shield. Lee Sung-yeon, 11 o'clock. Han Yun-young, protect the healer Lu Ji-hye. Seo Han-seong, 8 o'clock. Park Se-hyun, prepare to deploy your shield. Under my leadership, everyone finds their position. After organizing the formation, I glance calmly at Oh Hyun-wook. During regular training, everyone instinctively treats Oh Hyun-wook as the leader, so once the leader breaks down, the entire team falls apart. That is why they failed. Hong Si-chung is shocked. Have the dungeons not all disappeared? I respond calmly. I will explain the reason later. Let us get the students back first. Hong Seok-young says nothing more and drives everyone back. After some time, we finally reach our destination. Everyone gets out of the car, but there is no joy about going home. However, one person remains in the car. Oh Hyun-wook. I sigh helplessly. I ask Kim Chae-min and Hong Seok-young to step out and wait for a moment. After they leave, I speak slowly. Oh Hyun-wook, if you have something to say, say it. Oh Hyun-wook clenches his fists. Tears already fill his eyes. Teacher, I do not deserve to be a hunter. Watching the scene, I cannot help but think of that fat pig from my previous life. Although I feel some resentment, he is my student now, so I need to be patient. So I hand him a bottle of water and tell him to calm down. After some time, once Oh Hyun-wook has stabilized emotionally, I ask what happened. Teacher, you must have heard I spent 3 years in a guild. It sounds impressive, but in reality, I was used as bait for 3 years. So I made up my mind to establish a guild and help others, to ensure this never happens again. But just now, I had the same thought as those people. I truly have no face to be a hunter anymore. After hearing this, I remain silent for a moment before responding. Among the people I know, there is someone whose childhood experience was similar to yours. Like you, he signed the wrong contract at an age when he understood nothing. Later, a kind person saved him and helped him escape that environment. Ever since then, he has been doing one thing: helping children in the same situation as him. Although it seems absurd, that fat pig who only knows how to drink actually never forgets to donate every year. I once asked him why he does this. He simply replied with a few words, because I must prove that I am a better person than they are. So you should try the same. Prove to those people that you can succeed without using such methods. As I finish speaking, Oh Hyun-wook is moved by my words and finally goes home obediently. Afterward, I head to a fried chicken restaurant with Hong Seok-young and the others. Before I even settle into my seat, I ask directly, why do you not arrange psychological counseling for the students? Their mental state is deteriorating. It is not that we do not want to find a psychologist. We simply cannot find one. Seeing my confusion, Kim Chae-min explains. A few years ago, a doctor was killed by an emotionally unstable hunter during a treatment session. The incident caused a huge uproar online. Since then, no doctors have been willing to take on such cases. Hearing this gives me a headache, and I can only give up helplessly. Hong Seok-young, on the other hand, seems unconcerned. He believes his students will not give up over such a setback, so he changes the subject and asks me, when does that spiritual whatever lecture start? I respond somewhat exasperated. It is the National New Heart Mindfulness Association, and they want me to go tomorrow. Hong Seok-young tells me to be careful, then asks Kim Chae-min to take me there tomorrow. I do not refuse. The next day, Kim Chae-min arrives in a black sedan. She asks me resentfully why I would not let her drive her sports car. I am speechless. We are going to an enemy stronghold. She wants to drive a luxury car. Is this how wealthy people think? With that, I get out of the car and prepare to enter the venue. A few minutes later, I successfully enter the venue. I am greeted by a very familiar face. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. It is not until he smiles that I finally remember. Is this not test subject number 3 from the research facility? Test subject number 3 was 15 years old, the oldest at the research facility. However, just before he turned 16, he suddenly disappeared without any news. I never expected to run into him here, but he definitely will not recognize me now, so I do not want to draw attention to myself. So I head straight into the lecture hall. As I listen to the woman on stage, I find that some of what she says actually makes a bit of sense. Everyone is actively engaging with each other, which makes me seem out of place. So I stand up and excuse myself to use the restroom as a way to escape. On the way, I run into test subject number 3 again. Looking at the familiar face before me, even though we did not get along as children, I still leave him my contact information and reveal my hunter identity. Test subject number 3 is shocked to hear I am a hunter, but I simply give him a fake smile and leave. Sometime later, I return to the school and tell everything that happened, including about test subject number 3. Hong Seok-young is furious upon hearing this. To name people in such a way, anger aside, we have no evidence yet and cannot act rashly. Hong Seok-young does not say much more, only promising I will definitely take them all down. Then he changes the subject. Teacher Yu, in a couple of days, Kim Chae-min and I need to go to a dungeon, so I will have to trouble you with the students. I ask with some confusion. How long will you be gone? Hard to say. That dungeon is quite difficult. It could take more than a week. After getting my answer, I say nothing more. The next day finally arrives, and it is time for grading. Everyone is extremely nervous, although I want to scold them all. Kim Chae-min told me yesterday to talk calmly with the students and ideally let them identify their own mistakes. She even gave me what she called a loving punch to make sure I remembered. So I conduct this class through questioning. What do you think is most important to prepare when planning a dungeon strategy? Oh, Hyun-wook answers first. Supplies. Other answers follow. Intelligence and teammates. As they answer, several cars quietly arrive outside. It is Lee Mi-hyun. However, she does not interrupt our our class. So I give her a nod of acknowledgement and continue the lesson. There are two main reasons for your failure this time. First, you did not establish a clear leader before entering the dungeon. Second, you relied too heavily on Oh Hyun-wook. Just as I am about to continue, Kim Chae-min's voice gradually surfaces in my mind. It sends a chill down my spine, so I change my approach. Successfully completing a dungeon is not just about commanding everyone. You need to use your mind. So from now on, each of you should imagine yourself as the leader and develop a strategy. Take a break for now. I will ask questions this afternoon. After all the students leave, I ask about the dungeon situation. The dungeon Hong Suk-young and Kim Chae-min are going to. Does it have sirens? Lee Mi-hyun freezes for a moment, then nods to confirm it does. Hearing the affirmative answer, I cannot help but start worrying. Because in my memory, someone dies in this dungeon. Kim Chae-min. According to the reports from that time, a hunter was bewitched by a siren's voice and stabbed Kim Chae-min through with a sword. Although the dungeon was cleared successfully, an S-rank hunter was sacrificed. But in the previous timeline, Hong Suk-young did not go. This time he is going, so everything should be fine. Thinking this, I quietly breathe a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Hong Suk-young and the others have already arrived inside the dungeon. This time they are well prepared, bringing soundproofing equipment and that conspicuous nameplate of his, though it has no engraving on it yet. In the afternoon, as agreed, I begin questioning each student. However, no one dares to step forward, so I start with Oh Hyun-wook. Oh Hyun-wook, who would you choose as vice leader? Oh Hyun-wook is startled by the sudden question. I choose Seo Han-seong, because like me, he has experience clearing dungeons. Good, that is a sound judgment. Now assume the white pieces are your team and the black pieces are monsters. Conduct a simulated battle. Upon receiving the instruction, Oh Hyun-wook begins thinking of a strategy. First, the formation. Warriors surround the mages and healers in the center. I take the front, and Seo Han-seong covers the rear. If a pixie appears at 11 o'clock, what do? I capture it. Pixies like to move in groups, so I will check if there are others nearby. If you have successfully approached the dungeon's core, and a large swarm of pixies suddenly riots around you, what do? Oh Hyun-wook thinks for a moment. First, we hold formation. Sunjin and I strike the enemy directly. Seo Han-seong and Lee Sung-yeon cover the rear, and the mages deploy shields for defense. After hearing this, I respond with a smile. Very good. The strategy succeeds. At these words, Oh Hyun-wook immediately breathes a sigh of relief. Now Seo Han-seong will be the leader. Who do you choose as vice leader? Seo Han-seong does not hesitate and chooses Oh Hyun-wook directly, giving the same reason. Good. You enter the dungeon and there are 6 pixies wandering at the entrance. How do you respond? Seo Han-seong freezes. Why would they be wandering at the entrance? Seeing his reaction, I speak slowly. Dungeons have many unexpected situations. It cannot be too simple. Meanwhile, Hong Suk-young and the others are working hard to fend off the sirens' attacks. This level of monster is easy for him, and equally so for Kim Chae-min. However, when hearing is blocked, perception decreases. Even S-rank hunters are no exception, so she is ambushed. Fortunately, Hong Suk-young blocks the fatal strike for her, but he suffers serious injuries as a result. A few days later, I teach class on time as usual. I carefully explain to them how to think strategically. If you learn the dungeon will collapse soon, and you need a quick battle, and the monsters are pixies. And after entering the dungeon, the surrounding 10 kilometers are plains with no cover whatsoever. In simple terms, you are being watched from the moment you enter. What do? Han Yun-young responds. Then I would set a fire. Pixies have a strong sense of territory, so a frontal assault is clearly impossible. The best method is to burn everything down. I continue questioning. What about your team? Once the fire starts, the team cannot escape unscathed, can they? Han Yun-young replies. We just exit through the entrance, right? Hearing her answer, I feel quite pleased. I directly place a sticker on Han Yun-young's head and give her a thumbs up. If you collect 10 stickers, I will give you a reward. What should I give them? As I am thinking about this, Kim Chae-min's car rushes toward us. Kim Chae-min looks tense, clearly rushing here. Come with me to the hospital right now. Hearing the word hospital, my expression changes drastically. Could something have happened to Hong Suk-young? So I ask the hunter nearby to help watch the students. Then we rush urgently to the hospital. On the way, I keep thinking, this should not be happening. They are just a few sirens, right? Just as I'm about to ask something, Kim Chae-min starts cursing. How can there be such a person? I will never work with him again. This makes me even more panicked, and I hurriedly ask what happened. Kim Chae-min says nothing more and simply tells me to look at my phone. Then I see the news reporting that Hong Suk-young may be injured and hospitalized. A few minutes later, at Daeon Hospital, when I see Hong Suk-young looking disheveled yet still smiling, I stand there stunned for 3 seconds. So your injuries are all fake? Hong Suk-young nods. No wonder Kim Chae-min is so furious. He deceived us. However, Hong Suk-young has his reasons for doing this. He wants to use this opportunity to draw out ARC members. This displeases Kim Chae-min, who jokes around with their own life. Upon hearing this, Hong Suk-young fumbles in his pocket for something. It is that nameplate. I found this 5 years ago in a dungeon in Mongolia. It can absorb damage. However, there is a limit to the absorption. It automatically engraves names based on the proportion of damage taken. Hearing this, I freeze, then say I need to use the restroom. Once in the restroom, I pull out Hong Suk-young's relic from my pocket. It is that nameplate covered in engravings. I feel deep regret. If I had not taken leave back then and had arrived in time, could I have seen Hong Suk-young? He must have wanted to see me one last time. Damn it. I am such a bastard. In the end, I never once called him father, but in this life, at least I can save him. The next day, my mood is irritable to the extreme because the phone plan Hong Suk-young set up for me keeps receiving spam calls. This infuriates me. As soon as I hang up, another call comes in. I no longer want to answer, so I simply hand the phone to Kim Chae-min. Kim Chae-min takes the call, and the person on the other end identifies himself as Kang Tae-yu. Taiyu. Hearing this name, I freeze. I am about to take the phone back, but Kim Chaemin has already hung up. Kim Chaemin explains calmly, as expected, these people cannot contain themselves after hearing Hong Suk-young is hospitalized, so let them worry for a bit. Although Hong Suk-young's strategy is successful, I still need to call back. The phone rings twice before the other side answers. I calmly ask what the matter is. Kang Tae-yu sounds panicked on the other end. Teacher, I think I've awakened. This statement surprises me somewhat. However, I quickly regain my composure and ask him to tell me the address. After hanging up, Kim Chaemin cannot believe someone would coincidentally awaken at this exact timing. He probably hid the fact that he awakened earlier, but I still need to go. As for how to get there, that depends on Kim Chaemin. Kim Chaemin is quite displeased but agrees nonetheless. However, before leaving, I still need to assign the students some homework. Everyone is silent except for one person who remains active. That person is Lu Jion. However, I do not want to deal with this person's enthusiasm. Sometime later, Kim Chaemin in disguise, Kang Tae-yu, and I arrive at the inspector's office to register his awakened status. Unfortunately, on the way back, we unluckily encounter a dungeon outbreak. Although I can handle monsters of this level, there are too many of them, so I can only flee helplessly. Then, following Kang Tae-yu's directions, we arrive at the kindergarten where he works. However, the atmosphere feels wrong. Why is there the smell of blood? This scent makes me feel uneasy. Kim Chaemin, you and Tae-yu stay here. After saying this, I walk straight inside. As I expected, what comes into view is the corpse of a kindergarten teacher. Then 2 more, 3 more. However, strangely, there are only teachers' bodies, and they show no signs of resistance or attempting to flee, as if they were protecting something. Going deeper and pushing open a door, the scene inside makes me shudder involuntarily. I see the bodies of young children lying together in disorder. I never expected such a thing would happen. Sometime later, I walk out with a grave expression. Yes, only I walk out. This causes Kim Chaemin and Tae-yu's hearts to sink to freezing point. They know clearly what this means but are unwilling to acknowledge it. Teacher, what about my little brothers and sisters? They are all okay, right? This reaction confuses me somewhat. To be honest, I initially suspected Tae-yu. After all, he came from ARC and must have some connection. Is he acting? As I think, Hong Suk-young's image suddenly flashes through my mind. This brief image completely snaps me back to clarity, so I suddenly slam my head against the car window. Seriously, why am I suddenly thinking without using my brain? How can I suspect Tae-yu without evidence? A few hours later, we return to Hong Suk-young's hospital room. Lee Mi-hyun pulls up the surveillance footage from that day, attempting to find who committed such an atrocious act. A red-haired figure in black clothing watches the surveillance camera with interest, whose face is full of mockery. The moment Hong Suk-young sees this figure, some memories surface in his mind. I have seen this person before. He is the one I chased in South America. This person is very strong. Although I caught up to him at the time, he still escaped. As for why I was chasing him, I heard he is the leader of ARC. Everyone is stunned upon hearing this. You mean that young person? At this moment, I suddenly realize something. Perhaps ARC is having internal conflict. Thinking carefully, there were no signs of resistance in that kindergarten, nor were any items or documents missing, so it is highly likely to be internal strife. Hong Suk-young agrees. Then let us draw him out. We have already confirmed that Kang Tae-yu came from ARC. We tell him directly that someone has targeted the kindergarten. Your director seems to be involved in something bad, so you will all be in danger. Then we naturally suggest he join our experimental high school. This way, as soon as ARC sends someone, we can immediately detect it. I very much agree with this point. Unexpectedly, Hong Suk-young suddenly asks about my fabricated brother's information. After all, ARC now plans to eliminate people from the kindergarten, and my brother was supposedly from the kindergarten. This completely panics me, and I can only randomly tell some information from my past. After explaining about my brother, we find Tae-yu to discuss the serious matter. Tae-yu appears somewhat uneasy, seeing 2 unfamiliar people. Tae-yu, this is Hunter Hong Suk-young. He is the principal of the experimental high school. Hong Suk-young then explains about the surveillance footage and that someone has targeted the kindergarten. This makes Tae-yu feel extremely panicked and frightened. You are saying the children died not because of the dungeon collapse? Hong Suk-young does not hide the truth. Yes. After hearing this, Tae-yu falls into deep thought. Now he has only 2 paths before him. Either wait for ARC to come kill him, or completely break away from ARC. Tae-yu, do you want to come study at our school? At these words, Tae-yu is somewhat confused, but he has no other choice now. Being alone outside would definitely be very dangerous. 2 days later, at the experimental high school, I carefully check the homework I assigned before leaving the other day. So who do you plan to designate as leader this time? Han Yun-young immediately raises her hand. There is no specific leader. Because you asked us to create a guide, we thought of it as an advanced team rather than a clearing team. Hearing this, I smile faintly. When you created the guide, who did you assume would be clearing the dungeon? Han Yun-young continues explaining. We did not assume specific individuals, but wrote it according to International Hunter Association standards. So we tried to exclude attribute-specific magic and focused on universal magic. However, since it is in a cave, we still recommend light affinity mages. This statement immediately changes my impression of these youngsters. However, if this were before my time travel and my subordinates submitted something like this, I would definitely advise them to resign. But for the students before me, this is already an excellent result. I nod with some emotion. Very good. You did very well. Everyone is surprised to hear this, which leaves me somewhat speechless. It seems my approval is precious to them. Alright, since you performed well, I will give each of you a good student sticker. Everyone gratefully accepts these hard-earned stickers. After handing them out, I get straight to the point. Although I know you are excited now, we have a transfer student arriving today. Show some restraint. As soon as I finish speaking, the noise truly stops abruptly. Han Yunyoung looks incredulous. You are saying this kind of school also gets transfer students? I am somewhat speechless. Seriously, how can you be so harsh about your own school? Anyway, Kim Chaemin will bring the transfer student this afternoon. Han Yunyoung hits the nail on the head. Did you not complain when you first arrived, teacher? This truly gets me. I can only shake my head helplessly. Alright, everyone stop making a fuss. He is younger than you, so do not bully him. Get along well with him. In the afternoon, Kim Chaemin arrives at the school on time with Taeyu. However, the environment here truly surprises Taeyu, making him instantly realize he may have been deceived. However, since he is already here, he can only go with the flow. So I bring him into the classroom. Taeyu, give us a self-introduction. Taeyu then gives a truly simple self-introduction. My name is Kang Taeyu. After saying this, there is nothing more. The air immediately falls into awkward silence. After the introduction, everyone is dismissed. However, what I never expected is that the school has opened a coffee shop and the staff member is Lee Mi-hyun's accompanying Hunter. Although surprising, this is a good thing. After all, the best thing I've been drinking before was instant coffee, and not even every day. This counts as a benefit. Then please give me an iced Americano and a smoothie. Sometime later, I successfully get my coffee and cannot help but think, Hong Suk-young is truly a hands-off manager. Lee Mi-hyun is completely running everything now. Meanwhile, the classroom is filled with chattering sounds, seemingly discussing Taeyu. Taeyu sits outside in the sun, looking uncomfortable all over. Seeing this situation, I calmly walk over to him with the smoothie. Taeyu seems to want to vent to someone, so he simply talks about some past events at ARC. The director of the kindergarten I used to stay at had a son. We often played together, but I really did not like him because he always liked to bother other children and steal their snacks. As he talks, I increasingly feel something is off. Why does this sound a bit like me when I was young? He was really annoying, but I could not hit a young child. But one day the director passed away, and everyone around was very panicked. Only he showed little reaction, as if he had been greatly affected. So watching him, I thought we truly cannot know what life will become. I am somewhat speechless. What? Is he drawing inspiration from my unfortunate experience? But actually that day was not really unfortunate. At the time, I was just thinking about what to have for dinner. After all, those parents were not my real parents. From beginning to end, I've only had one parent. Taeyu continues, thinking about it this way. Compared to him, my life has been relatively smooth. I just never thought I would awaken. I am somewhat puzzled. Did you not want to awaken? No, it would have been better if I could have awakened earlier. I had a little sister I always took care of named Sohee. If I could have awakened earlier, I could have gone out to earn money and taken her away from the kindergarten. But now Sohee is gone. Even if I become a hunter, it is useless. Watching the sad Taeyu before me, I feel somewhat helpless. Alright, you should do what you want to do. Simply put, follow your own will and do things you are interested in, instead of lamenting the past here. After hearing this, Taeyu comes to a realization and ultimately decides to continue studying at the experimental high school. However, this draws Loo Jun's dissatisfaction. Why does he get to enroll? I awakened even earlier than him. I want to enroll too. This unreasonable tantrum is truly familiar, instantly triggering my memories. Alright, if you are not going to school, what are you doing here? Loo Jun looks incredulous. Is school the point right now? Seeing this situation, I sigh helplessly. It seems I can only call for backup. With that, I shout into the classroom. Loo Ji-hye, come take your sister away. At these words, Loo Ji-hye inside the room immediately cannot sit still and rushes over at sprinting speed, pinching Loo Jun's face. Loo Jun, did I not tell you not to skip class? The two refuse to yield to each other, neither willing to submit. I no longer plan to interfere and directly ask Taeyu beside me, do you want to take a test? Taeyu hesitates somewhat, but Loo Jun is very willing. Although Loo Ji-hye tries her best to stop her, she still cannot block Loo Jun's determination to become a hunter. It seems I must step in. Loo Jun, the experimental high school is not yet an official educational institution, so if you leave middle school like this, you will be considered as having dropped out. Rather than spending another year studying to take the education qualification exam, is it not better to wait another 6 months and get your graduation certificate? Loo Jun suddenly realizes this seems to indeed be the case, so she stops being unreasonable. Loo Ji-hye finally breathes a faint sigh of relief, and then takes her into the classroom to cool off. So, it is now time to test Taeyu. Sometime later, Taeyu and I arrive at an empty classroom, and I take out a rune. Then I have Taeyu hold it without moving, and I officially begin. The process has 3 steps in total. First, activate the rune that can gather surrounding mana. Second, the test subject and the tester each need to hold one end of the rune paper. Third, the tester transmits mana through the rune to the subject's hand. This is the secret I discovered at age 13, the rune engraved on a gold coin. At that time, although Hong Suk-young also tried this method, it was completely useless. I know very clearly that Hong Suk-young definitely cannot do it, because to this day, I am the only one who can see mana with the naked eye. All of this is truly thanks to ARC's Pioneer project. This experiment continued for 10 cases without results, and was seen by everyone as a complete failure. However, this experiment was actually successful. The success was me, an artificially awakened individual. It seems today a second successful case has appeared. It seems your sensitivity to mana is quite high. Taeyu is somewhat nervous. So did I pass? I explained calmly. There is no passing or failing. A hunter's strength has nothing to do with sensitivity. I am just testing for future course direction. By the way, you still need to choose a weapon you want. Almost all the students in in the class use swords, Taeyu does not know what to choose, so he simply chooses to use a sword as well. This conversation takes only a few minutes, and Taeyu instantly feels like taking back his words. After all, people who choose swords are usually either getting beaten up or on their way to getting beaten up. Hours later, Taeyu slumps in his chair, ashen-faced and completely drained. But the lesson doesn't end here. Next comes my dungeon strategy theory class. So let me thoroughly critique this strategy. Although I praised you last time, mistakes still need to be corrected. Upon hearing this, everyone nervously lowers their heads, except Taeyu, who looks confused. First, here you wrote about taking out the goblin sentries first. You probably wrote this incorrect method because you don't understand goblin behavior. Goblins are extremely vigilant. If you act this way, you'll definitely be detected. Then you won't be able to approach, and the swarming goblins will make it difficult to retreat to the dungeon entrance. What should you do? Everyone falls into deep thought again. At this moment, Oh Hyun-wook offers his perspective. Setting fires might block our own escape route and make things more dangerous. So we create smoke to paralyze their sense of smell. After that, as the team leader, I move in the opposite direction from the entrance, while taking out the combat troops. At these words, I ask expressionlessly, "Why?" Oh Hyun-wook blurts out, "To lure them away. After you buy time for everyone, how will you escape the dungeon yourself?" Oh Hyun-wook thinks for a moment and says, "If things go smoothly, I can get out. Even if I fail, I believe that's an unavoidable choice. I feel helpless. This is absolutely absurd. I'm sorry I stopped you back then. Give up. Someone like you doesn't deserve to enter dungeons. If you want to sacrifice yourself to save others, you need to know your actual abilities. Whether sacrificing others or yourself, it's the same as treating lives as worthless." This leaves me speechless. Didn't I teach from the basics? How have they regressed? I sigh helplessly and can only accept my fate. First, you're wrong from the most basic common sense. You only think about individuals. Remember, you're a team. It's not an S-rank dungeon. Is there any need to bet your life? Starting now, all 7 of you except Lu Jihye and Kang Taeyu must come up with a method. This is your assignment. These words strike like a bolt from the blue, catching everyone off guard. A few days later, it's finally time to check the assignments. Sunjin's method involves making firecrackers. Firecrackers? How do you plan to make them? Sunjin replies, "We have 2 mages. How could we not make them?" After saying this, Sunjin grins mischievously. How about that? Pretty good, right? Having confidence is good, at least better than that other attitude. So who did you ask? Hunter Lim from Daeyeon Guild? These words make Sunjin's body stiffen, and he can only show an awkward smile. I sigh helplessly and ultimately let him pass. This surprises Lee Sung-yeon. So we were allowed to ask others? I reply calmly, of course. Consulting experts is also a method, but you can't use it anymore starting now. At this moment, Choi Jinwoo seems to think of something and resolutely raises his hand. My answer is also making firecrackers. Fine. Choi Jinwoo passes. This confuses Lee Sung-yeon. Choi Jinwoo smiles faintly. The teacher said we can't consult other hunters, but didn't say we can't use methods that have already been used. Lee Sung-yeon is left speechless after hearing this explanation. Time quickly reaches sunset, marking the end of today's lessons. However, the 2 people in front of me still haven't thought of answers. I feel somewhat helpless. Alright, take a bit more time. After you pass, I'll give each of you a sticker. The next day, classes continue, but now it's practical combat training, or rather, a one-sided beating session. Although I want to train Kang Taeyu this way, he's really too weak. If I accidentally beat him to death by not paying attention, that would be bad. This won't work. Looks like I can only start from the basics. After saying this, I generate flames on the spot and wrap myself in them. Everyone stares dumbfounded, their faces full of astonishment. Don't step inside this circle or you'll get burned. From now on, try to guess what I drew on the floor. After speaking, I swing the wooden sword in my hand and trace a pattern in the air with lightning speed. Alright, come on, guess what I just drew? Taeyu looks completely baffled. That's it? He didn't even seem to move, did he? After a long time, even though Taeyu has his eyes wide open, he still can't figure out what I drew. I feel helpless. It's okay if you guess wrong. Just say what you feel. Comforted, Taeyu seems to sense the framework of a circle. So he tentatively says, "Is it a circle?" I snap my fingers, and a circle formed by blue flames immediately appears. Congratulations, you got it right. Taeyu is excited about getting it right. He seems to be gradually getting the hang of it. Meanwhile, in stark contrast to Kang Taeyu, Oh Hyun-wook sits with a worried expression, pondering yesterday's question. After another full day of thinking, he still hasn't come up with a solution. Perhaps what I said that day was too harsh and caused his brain to short circuit. So that evening, my karma arrives. Even though I was already preparing for bed, why am I here working overtime now? I feel helpless. So, Oh Hyun-wook, you came to the teacher's dormitory at this hour. Is there something you want to consult about? Oh Hyun-wook remains silent. After a long time, he slowly speaks. I originally thought that to become the better person you spoke of, I just needed to sacrifice myself. But if even that method is wrong, I really don't know how to prove myself. Shouldn't you figure that out yourself? The person I was talking about is you. Although I want to say this, it's clearly impossible. Thinking carefully now, whether it's Hong Seok-young or Lu Jion, or even those hunters who died in battle, they all seem to have said these words. Oh Hyun-wook, remember this. The world won't change if you die. No one will remember you. Although people who know you might be sad, that's all. Don't think of life so simply. If you want to prove or accomplish something, you must do it while you're alive. These words bring Oh Hyun-wook instant enlightenment. So the next afternoon, he He resolutely raises his hand. I just feel helpless. Suddenly being so determined feels a bit strange. Then Oh Hyun-wook stands up and says, first, use smoke to paralyze the goblin's sense of smell. Then they'll start relying on hearing. After that, I'll still be the decoy. At these words, my expression darkens immediately. Isn't this the same as your initial plan? How will you rejoin the team? Oh Hyun-wook doesn't hesitate and says confidently, they're just goblins. I'll just kill them all and then leave. Even if I can't win, I'll just deal with them moderately. If I feel like I'm losing, I'll move toward the entrance. Either way, once I cross the entrance, I win. Everyone looks utterly baffled at these words. That works? I smile faintly. Yes. If ability is lacking, I can train you. But confidence and willpower must be overcome by yourself. Very good. You pass. That's it for today's lesson. Everyone can go home. Lee Sung-yeon looks puzzled. Isn't this the same as his previous method? If you don't even understand this, it means you're too green? Taeyu and Liu Ji-hae also look confused. Liu Ji-hae doesn't mind since she only needs to handle healing. As for Taeyu, he still needs some encouragement from me. Taeyu, work hard. I still have high hopes for you. These words really make Lee Sung-yeon direct his resentment toward Taeyu, but he's also helpless and can only silently lower his head. Next, everyone begins to head home one after another. Only Lee Sung-yeon remains in the classroom with his head down. By the way, doesn't this scene seem a bit familiar? Is it just my imagination? It must be my imagination. Just as I'm thinking this, Lee Sung-yeon suddenly bursts into tears. Teacher, do you also think I have no talent? I guess being a hunter is. I'm somewhat puzzled and just about to ask something when Lee Sung-yeon suddenly stands up and runs out of the classroom. This leaves me in a baffled state. What's going on? Such a familiar scene. Do kids' adolescents in this era always have to include this scenario? To learn more about Lee Sung-yeon, I decide to go directly to Lee Mi-hyun. Without any hesitation, I speak bluntly. Hunter Lee, you should know that Lee Sung-yeon actually has no talent. If he continues like this, in no more than 5 years, he'll die in a dungeon. At these words, Lee Mi-hyun's expression changes slightly. Even so, do you want your nephew to become a hunter? Over these 3 months, I've fully understood information about the children. Park So-hyun and Oh Hyun-wook are undoubtedly geniuses. Choi Jin-woo has inherent attribute advantages. Seo Han-seong can quickly assess field situations. Sunjin is agile in movement. Han Yoon-young has an excellent mind for analyzing information. Liu Ji-hae is a healer, so she's outside the scope of discussion. As for Lee Sung-yeon, even with time invested, he can only become an ordinary hunter. But he will never be satisfied with that. Lee Mi-hyun sighs helplessly. Let me tell you, I was against Sung-yeon entering experimental high school from the start. How could I not know? Teacher Yu, he himself should be very clear about it too. Actually, Sunjin's father was my father's, or rather Sung-yeon's grandfather's bodyguard. Sunjin awakened at age 10. Sunjin's father taught him various combat methods, and Sunjin taught those techniques to Sung-yeon. Back then, I thought they were just playing around. But after Sung-yeon awakened, the movements he could barely imitate gradually became more refined. So naturally, he believed he would become a hunter. Therefore, when we decided to send Sunjin to experimental high school, Sung-yeon actually went to Hunter Hong himself and asked to be admitted too. Hearing this, my expression changes drastically. No wonder the atmosphere between Hong Sok-young and Lee Mi-hyun was so strange 20 years later. Whatever Hong Sok-young requests, whether difficult or trivial, Lee Mi-hyun always agrees. And Hong Sok-young, whether commanding or requesting her, always maintains a very humble posture. If their relationship became like this because of Lee Sung-yeon's desires, that would make sense. Lee Sung-yeon's death back then was something no one anticipated. The adults who lost a nephew and a student came to harbor guilt toward each other. Lee Mi-hyun shakes her head helplessly. We really should make him give up in time. I nod. Almost simultaneously, Lee Mi-hyun and I both tell each other to patiently persuade Lee Sung-yeon to give up. The atmosphere immediately becomes awkward. At the same time, on his way home, Lee Sung-yeon happens to run into Kang Tae-yu, who just bought instant noodles. Lee Sung-yeon's temper flares up. He doesn't want to engage with Kang Tae-yu, but after seeing the instant noodles in Kang Tae-yu's hands, he changes his mind. This guy seems to have been struggling before. Well, whatever. Come with me. I'll treat you to a meal. How can you get through training on just instant noodles? Kang Tae-yu is about to refuse, but can't withstand Lee Sung-yeon's enthusiasm and helplessly agrees. At this moment, a black-robed figure suddenly appears behind them and calls out to the two. Students, I have something to ask you. Which one of you is number 3? At these words, Kang Tae-yu's expression changes drastically. Almost without any hesitation, he immediately grabs Lee Sung-yeon's hand and walks away. Only 2 types of people know his identity: teachers and cleaners. Seeing them about to run, the red-haired man doesn't panic at all and casually raises his arm. Almost simultaneously, Kang Tae-yu senses danger. He pushes Lee Sung-yeon away and takes the hit himself. But this isn't over. The red-haired man attacks again. This time, Kang Tae-yu's perception is more refined than before, and he perfectly dodges the attack. This makes him secretly pleased. Looks like Teacher Yu's training is working. The red-haired man laughs heartily. Wow, you succeeded. Seriously, the database is a complete mess. If I'd known that kindergarten hadn't awakened, I wouldn't have dealt with that place. These words pierce Tae-yu's heart like a knife. So the kindergarten killer is right in front of me. You killed my sister Sohee? The red-haired man looks confused. Who's that? Noah Kindergarten. Hearing this name, the red-haired man immediately remembers. That's right, I did it. Too bad you weren't there at the time, or I could have saved myself a trip. Kang Tae-yu can't believe it. He looks about the same age, so why would he say such heartless things? But what can I do? The person in front of me is not someone I can handle. At least I can't let Lee Sung-yeon get dragged into this disaster. Lee Sung-yeon, go find someone quickly, anyone. I'll hold him off in the meantime. Before Lee Sung-yeon can speak, the red-haired man interrupts directly. Your conversation is too cute. You think you can stop me? After saying this, an extremely aggressive blood-red energy suddenly appears out of nowhere. Kang Tae-yu feels helpless. His life seems to flash before his eyes, and he can only close his eyes and quietly wait for death. At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly appears. It's me and Lee Mi-hyun rushing over urgently. I can only say it's fortunate the conversation location was close, and with my strong perception of mana, I instantly sense the battle here. As soon as Lee Sung-yeon sees it's the two of us, he immediately breathes a sigh of relief, and tears burst out. On the other side, the red-haired man won't obediently wait for us to catch up and decisively launches an attack. I happen to catch this strange mana, so I suddenly teleport in front of him and block the attack in one smooth motion. The red-haired man grins. You can see mana, right? Damn, congratulations on getting it right, but there's no prize. Then a fierce battle erupts immediately. I can only say this red-haired man is very strong. Although I was a civilian before crossing over, my strength doesn't lose to S rank. I didn't expect my attacks to be ineffective. Where did this monster come from? If you say he's Ark's boss, he seems far too young. I suddenly pull out the longsword that was grabbed. Logically speaking, someone with this strength would definitely have rumors in the Institute. But I've never even heard of this guy. The red-haired man blinks, and his pupil color immediately changes from gold to brown. Who are you? As far as I know, there's no child your age there. Are you the one from underground? I remain silent. Did he just mistake me for an internal informant from ARC? If he wants to help increase the credibility of my persona, I'm naturally grateful. Watching me remain silent, the red-haired man sighs helplessly. Looks like that's it for today. But there's nothing to be done. It's precisely this that makes living in this world so interesting. After saying this, he taps the ground 3 times. The next second, the red-haired man just disappears from the spot. This surprises us greatly. Could this be a teleportation skill? At this moment, footsteps appear again, which really startles me. Looking closely, it's actually Hong Seok-young shuffling over in slippers. I feel helpless. Seriously, you came too late. After a while, we arrive at Lee Sung-yeon's villa and bring all the students over. Lee Sung-yeon, take Kang Tae-yu to the bathroom and room. Don't worry about the rest. Leave it to the adults. Although Lee Sung-yeon hasn't fully recovered from what just happened, he still nods in agreement. For the other children, I can only give a perfunctory answer that the principal will explain since I can't mention the red-haired man. By the way, everyone rushed over, so rest first. Have you eaten? Loo Ji-hye says not yet, while Loo Jun's stomach has already been growling. I feel helpless. Damn, how am I supposed to take care of all these kids by myself? Just then, Lee Mi-hyun finally arrives with everyone, and I immediately breathe a sigh of relief. Alright, if there's anything you want to eat, tell the hunters. They can make anything as long as it's not too difficult. Hearing me say this, everyone relaxes and goes to eat. Only Oh Hyun-wook senses something is wrong. It seems something big will happen in the future that might endanger the safety of experimental high school. After a while, we arrive at the conference room to discuss the attacker just now. Lee Mi-hyun obtained all the information in basically no time. Intelligence shows the red-haired man is named Alex, an A-rank hunter from Australia, 22 years old. His mother is Taiwanese and his father is Australian, both hunters. I just feel puzzled. This kind of classified foreign information can be obtained so easily? That's terrifying. When I worked at the National Management Bureau, I didn't have this kind of access. And this kind of thing definitely can't be solved with money alone. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't make sense. Can a small guild president have such great authority? Rather than keep pondering the reason, I just ask directly. Hunter Lee isn't an ordinary hunter, is she? Lee Mi-hyun smiles faintly. After getting Hong Seok-young's approval, she finally speaks. That's right. I'm the head of the South Korean branch of the International Ability Association's Special Activities Division. Da-yeon is just an organization to cover my activities in South Korea. I see. That makes sense. Besides Lee Mi-hyun's identity, how much more has Hong Seok-young been hiding from me? But there's no time to worry about that now. The priority is handling the students' follow-up arrangements. Hong Seok-young plans to have the children stay here, using intensive training as an excuse. Kim Shaman worries. They'll probably have a hard time believing it. Hong Seok-young responds with a playful expression. It's fine, as long as we keep drilling them until they have no time to rest. Whether they believe it won't matter. Besides, I don't plan to hide it from them forever. After all, the children are hunters too. They need some vigilance to be prepared for responses. Oh, and Loo Jun's training can be moved up. Kim Chae-min smiles faintly. Then Jeon will definitely be happy. At these words, Hong Seok-young starts to worry. When she actually starts classes, her mindset will probably be different. Time quickly arrives at evening. Because of today's events, I really can't sleep, so I come to the living room to revise Lee Mi-hyun's identity. But thinking about it, what good does revising do? Only I can see it anyway. At this moment, Lee Mi-hyun asks with a puzzled expression what I'm doing. I'm just thinking about things. After all, after what happened, anyone would be a bit worried. Fortunately, there are enough rooms here for everyone to have their own. Why didn't you make this place experimental high school before? Lee Mi-hyun feels helpless. Because at my age, I don't want to be monitored by my father. Through Da-yeon's support, experimental high school can at least be somewhat removed from the family. Having a direct connection to Daeon wouldn't be good. That's why we built the school from scratch. Hearing this, I'm speechless. Even starting from scratch, container buildings are too primitive, aren't they? It's alright. Hunter Hong also said to take this opportunity to build a proper building. Plus, that area is more remote with few obstacles around. If enemies approach, we can detect them instantly. Hearing this, I feel it makes sense. After all, ARC will definitely send more people to hunt us down. At this moment, Lee Mi-hyun changes the subject. Teacher Yu, now it's my turn to ask questions. I heard your conversation with Alex. Teacher Yu, can you see something? These words catch me off guard. It's clear that lying to someone with intelligence capabilities could lose her trust and cause confusion. If that's the case, I can only tell the truth without undermining the original setup. Although you might not believe it, I can see Lee Mi-hyun is shocked. You mean with your eyes? Is that possible? Because I'm a person created through genetic modification for this purpose. ARC once conducted an experiment intending to make children awaken while still fetuses. I'm a survivor of that experiment. Surviving, possibly because I hadn't awakened when I was born. Because of this, I was almost disposed of. The researchers who created me, or rather my parents, saved me. They stopped the organization from continuing this experiment and proposed using me as a basis for the next one. Although they said that, I wasn't used for other experiments later. Lee Mi-hyun is puzzled. Teacher Yu, didn't you already awaken? I don't hide it. I awakened much later, and seeing Mana came even later than that. At that time, I was a janitor at ARC, and roughly understood the internal operations. I thought I would continue working numbly forever, until I met my younger brother. After the fetal experiment failed, ARC learned from it, and chose to make children awaken artificially. This is the experiment ARC has been conducting. My younger brother was a test subject for that program. After listening, Lee Mi-hyun is somewhat surprised, but her expression clearly shows she believes it. I continue. As for Alex, he's very likely a high-level manager. Perhaps you could investigate Alex's parents. I think his situation is very similar to Taeyu's. Both were placed in the Institute for Experiments, because their parents are from ARC. At these words, Kang Taeyu, who had been eavesdropping outside, finally can't help himself. Teacher, how did you know about this? I sigh helplessly and then have Kang Taeyu drink the coffee I just made. Kang Taeyu doesn't hesitate at all and drinks it down decisively, which means he still trusts me. You just asked how I knew, right? It's because I lied to you. This blunt answer leaves Lee Mi-hyun stunned on the spot. She hurriedly shakes her head, asking me to be more tactful. I choose to ignore her, but more accurately, I didn't tell you. Actually, I escaped from ARC. At these words, Kang Taeyu is instantly baffled. You escaped from ARC? So you knew who I was from the start? Yes. I thought that association might be related to ARC, so I attended. I didn't expect to meet you there, but it's precisely because of you that we could confirm the association's connection to ARC. After listening, Kang Taeyu is puzzled. Then why did you recognize me at first glance? Because I used to work as a janitor at that institute. My younger brother was at that institute. Finding him is precisely why I escaped. After listening, Kang Taeyu suddenly realizes. Janitor? Younger brother? I know who you are, teacher. You're the one who often stayed with number 12, right? I heard everything you said to number 12. At these words, I'm instantly baffled. He seems to have mistaken me for someone. Kang Taeyu ignores my surprise and continues chattering. Don't worry, teacher. I'll help you find your brother. Although I don't know much about the institute, the kindergarten is different. Did you see the flowers before? I'm baffled. Huh? What do flowers have to do with finding someone? Kang Taeyu smiles calmly. I knew you didn't know, teacher. Let me tell you what to look for. So the next day, Hong Seok-young coldly asks Taeyu what he knows. This draws Kim Chaemin's dissatisfaction. Seriously, you should praise him. Why so cold? Hong Seok-young is left speechless by this rebuke. Finally, I speak up to break the deadlock. Student Taeyu, what intelligence can you provide? Taeyu worries. To obtain the intelligence, we must return to the kindergarten. There's something I want to get, and intelligence the teachers need. So that afternoon, we set out for the kindergarten. Originally, the plan was to have Teacher Kim come, but how could I let someone else steal my achievement, even if it's Teacher Kim? After an hour's journey, we finally arrive at the kindergarten. It's different from before, without that sickening smell of blood. Without much talk, Kang Taeyu immediately starts searching for things. First is in the garden. Digging up the soil reveals a long, sealed iron box. This is a time capsule Taeyu and his sister Sohee buried together. Inside are their memories together. They had agreed to open it together with Sohee, but now his sister is gone forever. The second is a delicate bracelet. This was made by Sohee after coming here, her first creation made alone. As he talks, Taeyu's expression becomes heavier and heavier. Next is the last thing, which is what the teachers need. On the way to the director office, Hong Seok-young looks at the spotless kindergarten and falls into memories. Hong Seok-young once had beautiful memories, meeting his beloved, even entering the halls of marriage. Unfortunately, fate was cruel. Hong Seok-young sighs helplessly. Time spares no one. I've reached this age too. A few minutes later, we successfully reach the director's office. Lee Mi-hyun is puzzled. We searched everywhere before, even the ceiling. Kang Tae-yu says nothing and simply keeps pulling at a potted plant. This operation truly leaves us dumbfounded. Hong Suk-young sighs. Although very traditional, it's indeed a good method. Opening it, addresses of all kindergartens and directors' phone numbers are densely written. With these, all test subjects can be found quickly. Hong Suk-young is pleased. Well done, student Tae-yu. Over the next few days, Lee Mi-hyun begins gradual investigations. But as she investigates, she discovers that all kindergarten directors and most children died in that dungeon outbreak. This doesn't make sense. This makes Lee Mi-hyun's heart jump to her throat. Go confirm all the children and see if Teacher Yu's brother is there. I can only pray it's not the worst-case scenario. That afternoon, Kang Tae-yu finds Lee Mi-hyun, originally wanting to ask about number 12's name, but thinks better of it. Rather than having someone else tell me, I want him to tell me himself. He never told me before, but now that we're both out of the institute, he has no reason not to tell me this time. Thinking about it now, Teacher Yu didn't seem to care about any children except number 12. But once, when Sohee fell and bled, the teacher who was watching number 12 play suddenly stood up like this, picked up Sohee and left the playroom just like that. I'd never seen anyone leave like that before. The researchers wanted to question the teacher but were silenced by a glare. After listening, Lee Mi-hyun can't help but tease. Didn't expect that Teacher Yu to be quite cool, Tae-yu continues. Later, to show gratitude, Sohee specially gave a cookie to Teacher Yu. I thought Teacher Yu would refuse like previous janitors. But unexpectedly, Teacher Yu quietly thanks Sohee. Such a gentle person. I can only say it's fortunate Teacher Yu already left the institute. Now I just hope number 12 is safe. After listening to my story, Lee Mi-hyun begins to sympathize. Yes, I think so too. The next day, Lee Mi-hyun casually watches from the second floor as I train everyone. But Lee Sung-yeon is missing from the group, which darkens her expression. So Lee Mi-hyun immediately goes to find him. She wants to comfort him, but seeing Lee Sung-yeon's dejected state makes her angry. The two argue, and finally part on bad terms. Lee Mi-hyun clearly understands Lee Sung-yeon's mindset, but doesn't know how to educate him, so she can only leave helplessly. After all, they can't disrupt the upcoming plan because of Lee Sung-yeon alone. The key is letting him figure it out himself. After a while, Lee Mi-hyun finds Kim Chae-min and me with her laptop, informing us her preliminary plan has been realized. The uploaded runes have finally been studied. According to their research, the rune's benefits are very good, especially this spirit-boosting rune. Foreigners even exclaim, "Holy shit." I explain. This rune is called Air Purifier. It purifies mana. Seeing the interest building, Lee Mi-hyun thinks it's time to release the second wave of runes. Hearing this, I suddenly realize, so this was your purpose? Yes. If we release difficult runes from the start, others might not be interested. But if we only release simple ones initially, after everyone studies them, they'll develop strong interest. This is my plan. This operation earns my thumbs up. Professionals are indeed different. I'll leave the rest to you. At this moment, Kim Chae-min raises a question. Teacher Yu, if it's you, you should be able to do it, right? Design a method to make rune effects semi-permanently maintained in a room. I'm baffled. Isn't this quite simple? So I agree without thinking. Little do I know, what's simple to me is like hieroglyphics to others. So the next day, I hand the designed rune to Kim Chae-min. Kim Chae-min looks at the rune before her in disbelief and says to Hong Suk-young beside her, Teacher Hong, Teacher Yu isn't a fraud, is he? Or a genius of the century or something? Hong Suk-young is baffled after listening. Have you lost your mind? I know you like him, but paying this much attention to him is a bit unreasonable, isn't it? At these words, Kim Chae-min's pretty face immediately turns bright red. Hong Suk-young teases. Seriously, just give him more time. After all, he just opened up to Hunter Lee a few days ago. You know his personality. Once he finds his brother, he'll naturally speak up. Hearing this, Kim Chae-min says nothing more. But from that day on, her gaze at me seems to change, her eyes full of doubt. Teacher Kim, why are you staring at me like that? Is there a problem with the design? Kim Chae-min looks at me feeling somewhat uncomfortable, but ultimately chooses to trust my character. Teacher Yu, after you find your brother, what's the first thing you most want to do? This question comes completely out of nowhere. I haven't even processed it. I'm not sure what he thinks. Probably would want to go to school. Kim Chae-min is puzzled. I thought it would be an amusement park or something. Looks like he has the same thirst for knowledge as Teacher Yu. He must be very cute. What does your brother like? Does he especially like eating anything? With these two questions, cold sweat instantly runs down my back. The next day, Lee Mi-hyun excitedly calls us all over. After several days and nights of tireless searching for clues, she finally found my brother at Gangsu Kindergarten not far away. So everyone agrees to leave immediately. This makes me panic a bit. Wait, it doesn't seem necessary. Before I finish speaking, Hong Suk-young forcibly takes my hand. To prevent being targeted by Alex, we'll secretly bring your brother out today. In other words, kidnap him. On the way, Lee Mi-hyun asks me many things about number 12. This makes me feel utterly helpless. Maybe I should just jump out of the car now and escape like this. Escape to a place where Ark and the world's destruction don't matter. But there doesn't seem to be such a place. Korea is surrounded by sea on 3 sides. Where would I run? If only I had randomly mentioned another child's name from the institute. If only I hadn't used a brother as an excuse. If only I had calmly thought things through on the rooftop. If only I hadn't taken that day off. But come to think of it, wasn't Lu Jun conquering a dungeon at that time? Even if it's a B-rank dungeon, could she have completed it and left within 2 days? To understand the situation then, I should have stayed in Seoul. If I were in Seoul, I could have picked up weapons to fight, or given my nameplate to Hong Sok-young. If only then. Thinking this, I only feel my mind churning. It takes Lee Mi-hyun calling me twice to bring me back to my senses. Hong Sok-young laughs heartily. Seriously, at a time like this you should be happy. What's with that expression? Hearing this, I can only go with the flow. After all, with Hong Sok-young in the car, I can't escape even if I wanted to. Half an hour later, we finally arrive at Gangsu Kindergarten. After getting out, Hong Sok-young pats my shoulder. Alright, go bring your brother here yourself. Forced by the circumstances, I can only agree to the request. Then, with a heavy heart, I walk step by step inside. Before crossing over, I was just like this, alone, crouching on the ground writing my own name. However, in my previous life, it was Hong Sok-young who moved me with his actions. Day after day, whether windy or rainy, he appeared before me on time. At first I was very impatient, but before I knew it, I had grasped that rough, large palm. It seems my life could no longer be without Hong Sok-young. But after crossing over, this key figure became me. This is my first time meeting my past self. This child will not be adopted by Hong Sok-young. In other words, I deprived myself of the warm and fun childhood my father created for me. No, I essentially deprived myself of father altogether. The butterfly's wing flap rolled into a giant snowball and returned to me. What am I even doing? At this moment, my past self finally notices my present self already here, and on the ground that originally had only one name, 2 names now appear. Looking at that innocent face, I fall into deep thought. Perhaps my time travel really changed everything, then let things take their natural course. After saying this, I crouch down. Yirok, it's me. I came too late, didn't I? Have you been waiting long? Hearing this familiar voice again, Yirok's tears can't help but flow from his eyes. Then he suddenly burrows into my embrace. My expression changes. Perhaps I could just kill him directly. But if I do this, Hong Sok-young's son, Yoo Jae-hee, would disappear from this world forever. Moreover, due to my time travel, the timeline has completely changed. Perhaps continuing like this can remake everything and save everyone.